On this, I'm joined by political analyst Dr. Ntsikelelo Breakfast. Dr. Breakfast, good afternoon and welcome, and thank you so much for taking this time to speak to us.
Thank you very much for having me, Gwen.
So let's take a few steps back as we look into this process. We have seen a request, if I can call it that, for a possible impeachment by the ATM. It did not work out. So what needs to happen this time around for a possible impeachment?
Yeah, so Gwen, this is an interesting turn of events, because in the beginning, the speaker tried to drag her feet by downplaying the allegations. I think she's sensing a danger that what had happened to former President Zuma might happen again. Remember, during the time of former President Zuma, the EFF and the DA, they took Parliament to court. And one of the rulings was that former President Zuma broke his oath of office and that Parliament was too soft on the executive. So, as you know, in terms of separation of powers, the role of Parliament is not only to make laws, but also to hold the executive accountable. So I think the Speaker in this regard doesn't want to come across as if she's not doing anything about the proposal from ATM. But at the same time, the posture of the Speaker does indicate some kind of biasness. Because the route that she has chosen is the longest one, simply because it has three stages in it. First of all, there must be this panel that must be appointed. Let's say, for argument's sake, it's constitutional experts that will uncover the truth about what had happened, whether the president violated the constitution or not. Then the second stage is that the matter must go to a parliamentary committee that must confirm the validity of those recommendations. Then the third stage is that the matter must be taken to Parliament for a vote. So it's a long route, but I think half a loaf is better than nothing.
So with that said, on this issue of a panel, what should this panel look like? I mean, understandably, it should be a small panel of 3 people, and just one member should possibly be a judge. Tell us more about the constitution of that panel and how it should be constituted.
Well, I think the bone of contention is whether the president violated the constitution or not, and whether that makes room for a possible impeachment. So the composition, I think, will have to include constitutional experts or people who've got the legal background. And I think that is going to be a thorny issue, because that will be challenged in terms of who are those people, what is the political background of those people, blah, 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 and whether the names that will be put forward will be supported by all political parties across the board. Because some people are saying that no, but the ANC wants a predetermined outcome, that they don't want the president to be removed. The other issue is that it will be interesting whether the panel will make a recommendation in terms of how members of parliament should vote, whether they should vote in private or in public. Because if one of the recommendations, for argument's sake, is that members of parliament must vote in private, it means that it's not only ATM and the EFF that will vote for that, but also another section of the ANC that don't want to be seen to be against the president. So if the recommendation is that they must vote in private, even some of the ANC members will vote against the president if that happens.
Yeah, but who chooses this panel? Is it the political parties themselves, or can ordinary citizens also get involved in this process?
Yeah, I think as things stand, it will be members of parliament. I don't think that invitation extends to all and sundry. So I think that is confined to political parties across the political spectrum.
Well, in that case, I mean, if we're looking at the numbers within Parliament, to a certain extent, then if it is decided that way, it will, in one way or the other, favor the ruling party as they have the majority within Parliament, isn't it?
Of course, but I think maybe the ruling party will be strategic and also make room for other political parties to have a say. I mean, obviously the EFF, and ATM, they have their own preferences that might not sit well with the majority of proponents of Ramaphosa. So it's going to be interesting how this is going to play itself out.
Well, ideally, in this instance, Dr. Breakfast, what would be the quickest way to deal with this issue and deal with the Phala matter to find out if the president is, legible or not?
Yeah, Kwena, these are very serious allegations. We're talking about allegations of money laundering, tax evasion, kidnapping, and so on. But at the same time, also, it must be borne in mind that the motion of no confidence comes from ATM, which is a breakaway faction of the ANC, because they broke away from the ANC in opposition to the election of the president, because they were vehemently opposed to that. They think that is not the right person to pursue transformation. So I guess that's why, for instance, the speaker did not want to process this and take it to parliament immediately, because she's well aware about some of the complexities at play. But also she wants to come across to be this objective person.
Well, if history is anything to go by, Dr. Breakfast, we've seen too many times a process like this does not necessarily work out. And eventually with the presidents that we've seen going back to Mbeki and Zuma, it took their party in this instance, which is the ruling party, to make that decision to ask them to step down, or at least, as far as we are told, for them to take that decision to step down. What are the chances of success in any way of such a move of impeachment?
I think the ANC, under the leadership of Ramaphosa, will not sacrifice him. But at the same time, they want to come across to be upholding the notion of separation of powers, so that this matter doesn't end up in court. Because if that does happen, it will be a blow to the ruling party. So they are just buying time, following a procedure that they know that will not backfire on them. But I don't think that they would want to see President Ramaphosa being voted out and being embarrassed. But at the same time, they want to come across as if they are following all the procedures.
So is it a matter of just ticking the boxes and making it look like due process is being considered in this instance?
Yeah, no. Of course. That's why the speaker in the beginning was hesitant, because if she wanted this to be done quickly, she could have processed the matter from the word go, and then take it to parliament immediately. So this is the longest route. It will take time, and let's see how it goes.
All right, Dr. Breakfast, we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you so much for coming through to talk to us this afternoon.